Hey guys, welcome to the Whitetail Anonymous podcast number 5. Today, me and Josh are actually here together at my house. We're going to talk about mineral sites, when we start them, how we start them, where we put them, what we look at to pick spots for them, and go from there. Josh, say hey to everybody.
What's up, guys? I'm kind of distressed right now. One of my Spartan cameras, are actually just started getting some bear pictures, so y'all will know about the time this is being recorded. And we're sitting here in real time watching a bear probably destroying my feeder and my camera. And it sucks. You know, it's going to be a
$600
$700 headache that I'm going to have to fix. So sorry if I sound a little bit aggravated right now, because I am.
Yeah, well, that's understandably so.
And I really do hate bears, and it shouldn't be that way, because they could be a fun animal to hunt. In my opinion, West Virginia needs a spring bear season. The numbers have quadrupled over the last few years, because they moved that late season back to where, a lot of the sows were going into hibernation pregnant rather than being killed. So that's allowing them to have cubs, and then, the numbers have skyrocketed. Luckily the area I hunt, we don't have that many in Logan in the area I hunt. But like on the lease in Wyoming County, they are just everywhere. And we couldn't keep a camera up over there last year for them, and this year should be better for the guys because, they'll know to put them in bear boxes or whatever. But we didn't realize the bear numbers was going to be like that. But in my opinion, West Virginia needs to do something about it, either a spring season. I think the early September season will be a big help because you'll get a lot of the diehard deer hunters like myself out there who will actually put a little bit of time in to try to kill a bear. But a spring season would be great. I mean, I would go home every year and hunt during the spring, and I'm sure
hundreds of other people would too.
Yeah,
be a huge money maker for the state.
Yeah, it'd be a huge money maker, and it would probably triple the harvest. And it's getting to the point where we got to, because as most of y'all know, and I hate to go on a rant about bear here when we're doing a podcast on mineral sites, but I'm just, like I said, distressed right now because I'm watching a lot of my hard-earned money be destroyed right now, probably because of a bear. And it sucks, but anyway.
Well, I think everybody that listens will understand the frustration with that, especially if you hunt in southern West Virginia. But that's something that we can't change personally. Just make your voice heard, and hopefully the DNR sees it and the results are there with the wildlife biologists. But back to what we were going to talk about today, Josh. I guess let's open it up here. Talk about a little bit what we use for our minerals. Before I met Josh, I was a big just salt guy. I just used salt. I know it had no nutritional value for the deer, but it sure as heck will get the pictures. They love to come to it, and we've
and salt's 90% of what they're after in any minerals. There've been a lot of studies done that shows that the minerals really don't help antler development. I mean, yeah, it's going to make your deer healthier, but as far as some people are under the impression that if you put minerals out, that your deer are going to grow 30 or 40 inches in a year and stuff. And, I've not seen it, and people who are a whole lot smarter than me say it's not possible, so I'll leave it at that. But as far as, like I said, it does keep the deer healthy. It's something they need, in their body during the summer and the growing season to help them digest foods and such. It's something they need, and it's a great way to get into inventory of your herd.
It is, and we are big on now that we've started using other things, and Josh has been using this for years, but I just started. We use a lot of I'm losing my mind. What's in the jugs?
Deer cane.
Deer cane, trophy rock, and the 465, and we've had some really good success with that. And we haven't been able to use the sweet stuff that a lot of people in North Carolina use, the Lucky Buck and stuff like that, because the bears come to them, rip your cameras off the tree.
And I've not had, even when I didn't have that much bear problems, I've not had that much luck with Lucky Buck. Some people swear by it, and me personally, I've just not had the success with it. And the people who do use it, I'm glad they are having success with it, because I have seen, close friends who use Lucky Buck and have, like I said, tremendous success with it. But I'm a deer cane and a Trophy Rock 465 and a Trophy Rock guy. And if I'm starting a new site, I'll go in and say it's a brand new site, never been a site there before. I'll go in and take a small shovel and I'll kick it up. I'll clear all the leaves off, all the vegetation, and about a 4x4 area, and I'll dig it up and kick it up, probably 8-10 inches, maybe a foot deep. Kick it up real good in that area, and I'll add 4 to 5 liquid deer canes on that. And then I'll usually do 2 bags of Trophy Rock 465 and then one of the big 25 pound Trophy Rocks on that initial site. And then I'll refresh every 6 weeks with, usually when I do the refresh, I'll go with 2 or 3 canes, 1 465, and then I won't have to add another rock until later in the summer. Usually one of those rocks will keep it kind of fresh all year. But for some reason, the deer in my area, they seem to prefer to dig and eat the dirt rather than to just lick the rock itself. I don't understand that, but they do like the digging, and they'll dig even if there's a rock there. They'll still prefer to dig over that. But
I think that kind of breaks into what we're using, for the different reasons. Again, we can't. Josh hasn't had the luck with the sweet stuff, down here in North Carolina, the Lucky Buck and stuff like that. It works great, but again, we don't have the bear problems we have there. Josh, let's try to get into, you look at these huge wood lots that we hunt in southern West Virginia. What makes you pick a certain area to put a mineral site? What do you look for in that area to find it? You're looking at a 1,000-acre wood lot. What is your opinion on trying to find the best spots for these minerals? Because you can't just throw them in a hole and hope for the best. There's got to be some strategic way around it.
From what I've learned, I try to find, the area I hunt. I don't know. Like I said, it's a lot of it's coal company land, and it's, let's say, I'm just going to guesstimate the area, the kind of holler that I hunt, and it's got 2 long ridges and a point in that area, and I'm lucky enough that, a lot of people bypass this area, and, and I don't know why, but they bypass it, and then I kind of found it by accident, but I'm going to guess that it's probably 350, 400 acres, and I run 4 mineral sites on that, so you're looking at roughly a mineral site every 100, 125 acres. And I've learned that, it seems like higher elevations do better, and a very high canopy area does better. Seems like during the summer, those deer would rather stay in those higher canopy areas because it's cooler. You got a lot more shade in those areas, and it's not as thick, on the ground. There's not as much sunlight hitting the ground, so they ain't got as much vegetation to deal with on the ground.
Do you think, you say you like them on the high points, in which I've seen the success with it this year. Most of ours are on high points. Do you think it gives them good escape route too? They're a high up the hill. Something were to happen to spook them, they can run down the other side of it either way. It's a...
Yeah, it could have something to do with it. Deer, they always have that, they're always thinking about safety above anything else, and they've always got that escape route. Maybe, that does have a bigger factor, because anywhere they, as anybody knows, feeder, anything you got out there, anywhere they feel safe, or, is going to be a better success, because they can get out of there quicker, and they know they can get out of there quicker. And I'll look for, this is kind of hard to explain. I mentioned this on the Whitetail Rendezvous podcast on, it's kind of terrain changes is what I look for as to where I make my sites, and it's kind of like I'll find different family groups in those terrain changes. it's something that I've just kind of learned to notice. It's kind of hard, like I said, it's hard to explain what I'm talking about, but I may have one out one ridge, and then there'll be another one out another point, and then one down in the bottom, or not in the bottom of a holler, but just under the ridge on the top flat, and that I'll get a lot of different deer at all three sites, but usually on one of the sites I'll get all the deer. But you can kind of figure out which bucks are using, you know, where their core range is and their home range, and you can kind of figure out the fringes of their home range based off these mineral sites being spaced out like that. You know, like some deer, for instance, Swoop, who I talked about the other day, there was one mineral site that he would rarely come to, but yet he would hit the other one all the time. And this was probably a quarter of a mile away, and I never got his picture there. And that just, you know, they told me that, you know, that was not in his, you know, home range. I was on the fringe of his home range. And then we pushed back and made another mineral site on back in another area where I knew we would get into a different, you know, different doe family groups and a few more different deer's home ranges. And that's when we really struck gold on Swoop's core range, and he, you know, was there almost daily on that.
I've heard you talk about before, it's kind of like these invisible lines of these different groups in their ranges, you know, and how you can get certain deer here, certain deer there, certain deer here, and it's just like they don't cross those invisible lines.
Yeah, it's
sometimes.
Weird how they know, you know. I guess it's kind of like a dog knowing, you know, that's so-and-so's yard. You know, you don't go over there. You might, but you may have trouble. But everybody knows during the summer, you know, most deer tolerate each other, you know, in bachelor groups and this and that, but they still, you know, you can look at some GPS studies and stuff, and they still kind of stick to their home rangers and their core rangers, but they will tolerate each other more during the summer. You know, the Pennsylvania deer study, I forget the exact name of that study, but you can Google it. You know, it's a deer study, GPS study in Pennsylvania. I believe it's Penn State that does it. But it's some amazing info.
I was really impressed with that information too. That was pretty neat.
And they've got some cool stuff in there from summer ranges into the fall and rut stuff. Way some bucks travel during the rut, and it's amazing. But you can learn a lot about the home ranges and core ranges of bucks.
What you know, I know a lot of people, a lot of states open up early. I mean, you get Kentucky that opens up in when do they open? Is it first couple days?
First Saturday in September.
And North Carolina opens up the 6th this year, so it'll be second Saturday in September. And you know, up in West Virginia, you know, I think y'all open in the latter part of September. But you know, a lot of people, they want to hunt these mineral sites.
Yeah, you can still during September. You know, I still get a lot of action. You know, it starts, as everybody knows, tapering off right after they shed velvet.
What can you get from these mineral sites to learn how to hunt this deer? Say you got a mega giant velvet buck that you're chasing, or what do you learn? The way he's coming in, how he's coming, the wind directions, and you know that's a lot. We use Deer Lab for that.
Well, the main thing, I honestly don't pay a whole lot of attention. Not to contradict what you said about Deer Lab, because Deer Lab is an amazing tool, especially from September, you know, through January. But I've learned that during the summer months, you know, they'll move with fronts and this and that, but I've learned that, you know, on your wind directions and stuff like that, Deer Lab hasn't helped me that much. But I have learned the main thing, like I said, is you get a good inventory on what bucks are in the area. And the main thing I use it for, and the big tool they help, is you get the you know, you learn the home ranges and the core ranges of which bucks, you know, are going to be where. Like the deer I killed in 2014, I called Holyfield. I had him at only one mineral site on a high knob hub, and he was there almost daily or every other day, and that deer stayed. He was aged at 7.5 or 8.5 with the biologists and taxidermy and people who looked at his teeth were leaned more towards 7.5 than 8.5, so he was a 7.5-year-old deer, and his core range was probably I'm going to say probably a half a mile square area, and you know, I can show you pictures and stuff of that deer, and he was in that core range. You know, I think they spend 85% of their time in that core range, you know, and because of my summer scouting mineral sites, I knew where his core range was at, and I learned a lot about where he was spending most of his time, and luckily, you know, I killed him pretty early into my hunt, like 2 hours into vacation.
That was a quick hunt for you. When do you think these deer, when's that shift, well, for you, off of minerals, you know, when they don't really pay much attention to them anymore?
Like I said, they'll hit them through September and after they shed velvet, and I think it's whenever, you know, you get your acorn start to fall a little bit, they'll start, you know, their diet starts to change a little bit, and they kind of stop needing that salt as much. So you're looking at late September, early October is when they kind of start shifting off of it a lot, and they'll hit it, you know, throughout the fall. You know, they'll continue to come to it and hit it here or there. They just don't need it as much as they did during the summer, during the growing season, because of their diet. And I've had them, you know, like I said, I mentioned on the podcast we done about Swoop, he was, that year there wasn't much feed and stuff, and he was coming to minerals almost daily or every other day, you know, in late December.
Wow.
And I don't know what was going on with him that year, what, you know, why he was one of the, it was him and a couple other deer, but it was especially him. I mean, he was hammering a mineral site all through December, so I don't know what was going on with him that year, and he was an older deer. In my opinion, he was 8.5 that year, so I don't know, but some things I cannot answer. I have no clue why they do some of the things they do.
Yeah, well, you know, I've noticed that one of my biggest deer I've ever killed was on a mineral site. You know, it was up in Virginia. One of my dad's farms was a big, I'm losing my mind here, woodlot when he bought it, and he cut all the trees off of it. It was about a 8-10 foot growth, and he had an old salt block out there for his cows. That's where I ever got into minerals, and early October in Virginia, and I killed never scored it, mid 20s, somewhere around in there, deer, and it was over mineral sites. So needless to say, it's one of my favorite early season things to hunt on a travel route, coming to these mineral sites here in North Carolina. Virginia opens a little later, but you know, this early season in North Carolina, it's probably one of my favorite times to hunt if you can beat the mosquitoes and bugs and heat of early September in North Carolina.
You can get into some, you know, unpressured deer that, you know, don't have a lot of pressure because they love them minerals, and like John said, they will hit them through September pretty good.
Yeah, and Josh, last year you went to Kentucky, hunted that first week there, you know, and had some good times. Any Kentucky listeners here, you know, that our first week of season, you know, that mineral site's probably hot, you know, that first week of September.
Yeah, we ended up not hunting over. I think I made 2 mineral sites on that lease, and we ended up not. It was actually it was a lease, but it was a DIY lease through Whitetail Crossing of Kentucky. If any of you guys, you know, looking for a decent place to hunt, check out Brian Durr of Whitetail Crossing of Kentucky. He's got some good properties and manageable, you know, real reasonable prices, and he'll let you kind of
split it up and go.
Yeah, and he's very easy to work with and manages his ground good, and you know, he let me treat it like it was my own lease. But we had we seen a few good bucks there in early season, and my buddy that was with me actually got a shot at a real good 8. He wasn't no giant, good 4-year-old buck, probably 130-inch deer, and just made a poor shot. He actually took a poor shot angle, and he knew he did as soon as he done it, and he regretted it. And we didn't recover the deer, but he did not kill the deer.
Deer survived.
Yeah, the deer survived because we ended up Brian, the owner of Whitetail Crossing, ended up, you know, seeing the deer in November, and I'm not sure if anybody ever did kill him, but he did have a bad limp.
Yeah.
But he did survive the shot in early September.
You know, I know some people, you know, you see they just, you know, dig a hole in the ground, dump their minerals in it. Do you look for an old stump, or are you more of a dig a hole guy? Or I know I've kind of converted to more of a stump, you know, or a washout hole right there, and you get those holes, and I just have had better success for me on something like that. I've even seen the deer eat the stump.
Yeah, I kind of seen it both ways. I mean, I've got one in the area there in Logan. That's it's finding the right stump in the right area that causes you the most problem. I'd rather have the minerals in the right areas have a great stump in the wrong area. But I had one stump that was in the right area, and they did not like it. I don't know what the deal was with it, but I'm more of a, I will use a stump, or I kind of like where a tree is uprooted and you kind of get into the roots, that part of the stump, rather than just being a stump. I like a tree that's uprooted and pouring it there, like John said, in the hole where the tree's uprooted. And I've had a lot more success putting them in places like that. And, like we said earlier, we use Trophy Rock 465, and deer cane. And honestly, people who use just salt, we're not sponsored by none of these,
Companies. No.
none of these companies. This is all, we believe in these products, and I'll continue to use them. And I've had,
Wish we were sponsored by Trophy Rock. As much
Yeah.
money as we spend on them.
yeah, because it's, that stuff ain't cheap. And,
Especially the big 25-pound rocks.
and I've had people, even John, and my cousin last year was using just pure salt. I think just rock salt or.
I had a deal with a guy. He'd give us 25-pound bags for about $2, and I'd buy 500-600 pounds a year from my different places, and just a rock and salt is all I ever put on them.
Yeah, it's hard to beat that price compared to paying $15 or $16 for a 30-pound bag of 465.
And the results were there. I mean, but again, it's not doing anything for the deer. There's big salt holes, and there's no nutritional value to it or anything like that. But cheap way out, it is a good way to get inventory and pictures. I mean,
yeah, but kind of a shout out for Trophy Rock to me. Like, I had a cousin, what I was getting at last year, who was just using rock salt and the type of salt John's talking about, just regular salt, nothing else. And he wasn't getting but a couple little bucks, year and a half old, maybe one or two 2.5-year-old deer. And I told him, I was like, man, buy you some Trophy Rock. Buy a Trophy Rock and Trophy Rock 465 and put a little bit of deer cane out, or just use the the Trophy Rock 465 if you can't find cane. And he done it, and within 2 weeks, he had 3 or 4 mature deer using that sight. And one giant 12-point. Well, he wasn't a giant, but he was a really good 12-point, probably 150-inch deer, and very mature deer. And he was amazed at the difference that, just switching from the salt to the Trophy Rock made. And I don't know what it is about the Trophy Rock, but
they loved it. Back to where you were talking about stumps, like at the lease, the double D stump, as we call it. If you guys have seen a picture of double D, you've seen a picture of the double D stump. So it's I guess it was just the right stump. Like you said, they like that stump, and it's kind of hollowed out in the inside. And I made the mistake of letting some of the minerals pour in the inside. Josh had to go up here and scoop them out for me, because they got inside the hole.
Yeah, one side of that stump needs kicked out or something, but they do like that stump. Like I said, and I've got one stump that's in the perfect area there in Logan around the strip job, and they just, they don't like it at all. That was probably my weakest mineral site last year. And you can overdo it with mineral sites too. You don't want to make too many, because then you're hurting, each other's, because if you put them
all in the same area, you get the same deer hitting them, or you don't want to kill one or not the other.
Right, you're wasting your money by making more. Put them in strategic areas. Be smart about where you place them. Think about, where you've seen different deer, and like John said earlier, there's there's invisible lines, and if you can kind of figure it out if you study topo maps, or the area good enough to figure out where to place these sites. And don't overdo it. Just make as many as you need.
Yeah.
Because you will pull deer
from other areas.
From one side, yeah. And then there's sometimes, and right now I've overdone it with one site. I found a place this year where I could have made one site and killed 2 birds with one stone, but I didn't find this area until
you'd already made the other side.
The other 2 sites have already been active for a couple of years, so I'm not going to change it.
I think, mineral sites are a great thing. It's a great way to hunt early season, a great way to get inventory on your deer. One last thing, it's make sure it's legal in your area. It is legal here in North Carolina and in West Virginia. Make sure you're not breaking any laws, anything you put out on it. And it's pretty neat. We run our Spartan cameras on them. There's nothing like waking up in the morning and getting a giant velvet buck on your Spartan camera
Yeah.
to get, and it's awesome. you
Yeah,
know.
from July, August, and September is a fun time when you run cell cams, and you guys, anybody that's been following the page and stuff, look forward to it because we share, we get up and we share pictures every morning and we'll have, I don't know how many cell cams we'll have running
Probably
this
about
year,
15.
but yeah, we'll have a few, we'll have a dozen plus, and they'll all be in strategic, big buck areas, and most of them will be in southern West Virginia, and that's where we're trying to promote and show off how many good deer we have there.
Guys, add anything else before we end on this one, Josh? You missing anything out?
Not that I can think of right off. Like I said, just be strategic, study your maps. Think about where you've seen your deer,
And we're going to do a podcast on reading topo maps.
yeah,
And we're going to talk about.
and try to do a video. And I'll do when I go back up to freshen my sites. I've already put some rocks out on my mineral sites for the year, but I'll go up next month and I'll start adding the 465 and the cane, and I'll do a little video. I mean, I know everybody knows how to make a mineral site, but I've been asked a few times exactly what I do to mine. So I'll do a short video and show everybody what I do.
Yeah,
But,
and I think it'd be a good video. We sit down and talk about topo maps. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe do a video podcast that you guys could watch of me and Josh, and then talk about them, show different maps.
Show exactly what I look for in the terrain features I like to hunt.
Yeah.
And that's just me, personally, what I've had success with.
you've had the success with it, but
Everybody's got their own, things they like. And this and
and
that.
guys, and it's a trial and error thing. Like I've always said, get out there, put one out, see if it works. Then next year in your scouting efforts in the off season, if you say, hey man, this is a better spot than one I had, move it. Try something else on there.
You can always learn, always tweak, and never think you know it all, because none of us do, and nobody ever will know it all about deer or this and that. I'm always reading or willing to listen to learn more.
And guys, I think we'll end it there. Give a shout out to our sponsors and companies real quick. Remington Scent Control, Scent Crusher, Nationwide Deer Scent, Spartan Trail Cameras, Hawk Tree Stands. Guys, we don't push these companies just because they giving us a deal or whatever there, but we believe in these products. We know they work.
Yeah, and a lot of them, like the Spartan cell cameras, we've tried a lot of cell cameras before, we tried to get a deal with Spartan. It wasn't like we got Spartan first.
And we had them before.
We went through trial and error, and then we, luckily we lucked out and got a deal, and was blessed enough to get sponsored by Spartan.
Yeah, so it's been like we said, we're trying not to push these products down your throat, but they work for us, and we hunt some of the same areas that some of these listeners do in the mountains. And hey, guys, give them a shout, tell them Calculated Killer sent you. Again, thank all of you all for your support, listening to us, me and Josh ramble here. We're not the most interesting guys in the world, but we hope we interest you guys for about 30 minutes. And
we enjoy sharing tactics and trying to help others and just feeding the addiction. That's why it's called Whitetail Anonymous.
Feed the addiction. But hey, good note to end on there. Again, guys, thanks for your support. Thanks for listening to us. This podcast, I'm going to release it later in the week. We got a couple more getting ready to release one tonight, Wednesday, and maybe I'll release this one Friday. Give a little Friday or Saturday to give a break in between. But and one more thing, go ahead.
Yeah, one more. We're trying to get a video challenge put together. If any of you guys think you would be interested in that, go to the Whitetail Anonymous page or group and comment, or the Calculated Killers page, and say you'd be interested in doing this. We'd like to have, it ain't got to be a kill shot. We're just looking for great footage, to share on the page and to share with everybody.
There'll be some great prizes too, guys.
Yeah, we've already, the grand prize will have a free shoulder mount, and we're going to try to work with our sponsors and get some more great prizes for maybe first, second, and third place. And we just need people to, show the support and say that you're interested in it before we take it any further. But we appreciate y'all listening, and thanks for support. And hopefully we can keep doing this and keep it going.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the Whitetail Anonymous podcast number 5. You guys have a good night.